Let's bring in my colleague, our political editor, Andrew Clennell. And for us today, it's all about the RBA, Andrew, isn't it? And this review as to how it's going to operate.
I'm just having a bit of trouble hearing you, Kieran, but I'll press ahead. So finally, we have these proposed changes to the Reserve Bank, and we seem a day closer today to Philip Lowe departing his position as Governor. From July 2024, once this report's recommendations are implemented, assuming it gets through the Parliament, we won't have 11 meetings a year where we wait breathlessly on afternoon agenda to see if there is a rate rise or not, but 8. And there will be a separate monetary policy board to be chaired by the Reserve Bank Governor, as opposed to the governance board of the bank to be chaired by someone else. The Reserve Bank's board and its members will therefore be split between two boards. The report confirms the bank's inflation target should be 2 to 3%, but says full employment should also be taken into account when it comes to rate rises. It also pledges more transparency, with more press conferences after decisions on rates to be held by the Governor. The report praises the long-term performance of the bank, but makes several pointed criticisms too. It says between 2016 and 2019, Australia may have had stronger employment and inflation outcomes had interest rates been lower through this period. And then there is this about Phil Lowe's prediction that there will be no rate rises until 2024. It says the decision to introduce a 3-year yield target and forward guidance the policy rate would remain unchanged until 2024 may have contributed to a hesitancy by the Reserve Bank to act on inflation, at least initially. It says these policies may have affected the openness of the RBA to respond to early signs of inflation by upgrading the forecast, given this may have required earlier changes to that forward guidance. Well, this was Phil Lowe's response to that today and to criticism of the makeup of the board.
Looking back at that 2024 rate signal, which was seen as forward guidance, do you think the criticism that you've received in the review is fair given the circumstances you're looking at?
I don't think the panel is criticising us for that, and I don't feel personally slighted. Certainly with the benefit of hindsight, you look at it and say, well, you shouldn't have done that, and I accept that criticism. But what I try and explain to people is the situation was dire. I think one observation I'd make through the review process, which I said was kind of excellent, is the review panel did not sit in the boardroom. And the description of how the board process works and the challenge in the boardroom that the panel has doesn't particularly resonate with me.
Treasurer Jim Chalmers again repeated today, as he did on Sunday Agenda a couple of months ago, that he would make a decision in the middle of the year on whether Phil Lowe would be reappointed in September. Sounds like curtains for Philip Lowe to me. It would be pretty easy to say today he was expected to stay on.
Well, Governor Lowe's appointment is up in September, and in the ordinary course of events, the government would turn its mind to that appointment closer to the middle of the year, and that's my intention. I have said for some time that the right sequence is to release this with the government's initial views, and then to contemplate the governor's appointment somewhere closer to the middle of the year, and that's my intention.
Well, Phil Lowe had his own response on that a short time ago. Sounds like the words of a dead man walking.
Well, it's a great honour and it's a great privilege to have the job that I have, and I would say it's also a great responsibility. It's entirely up to the government whether I continue to serve in this role after September. If I was asked to continue, I would. If I'm not asked to continue, I'll find another way to contribute to Australian society.